What do you think power is? Is it being surrounded by allies, met with nodding approval, or the thunderous applause every time you speak? It is ironic how we constantly chase the illusion of connection to find security, only to be left bewildered when the stage lights fade and the auditorium stands empty. Ask yourself, why does the pain still burn so fiercely when the crowd departs? And why does betrayal always choose the exact moment of your deepest trust to reveal its true face?
There is a cold truth that every adult eventually touches.
Power does not automatically buy loyalty. It only exposes human limits. The more you stand out, the more clearly you see who stays for value, who stays for interest, and who stands beside you only to wait for a convenient day to turn their back. Soulmates sometimes vanish as quickly as applause, loud one moment, then dead silent. And it is that very silence that serves as the ultimate test. Can you still stand firm when no one stands beside you? The Stoic masters saw through this thousands of years ago. The closer a person moves toward stillness, the closer they touch true power. That power does not stand on a stage. It stands in silence. It listens more than it speaks, looks deeper than it reacts, and chooses solitude not out of eccentricity, but because it is the necessity for forging an invulnerable spirit.
If having to stand alone makes you uneasy, good, because that is exactly where the journey of true self-mastery begins. At Stoic Journey, we do not seek cheap encouragement or emotional sedatives. We are here to strip away the masks, shed superficial comforts, and face our most raw, authentic selves. If you are tired of acting to please the world, hit subscribe and leave a comment. I choose stillness. Every interaction is not merely an algorithm. It is a brick in the fortress of the mind,
where we filter out the noise to keep only the most precious values. Because power has never been a collective activity. It does not lie in how many people you gather, but in whether you have the courage to walk away from those who no longer fit. When your circle shrinks, do not panic. That is when your vision becomes its sharpest. And now, let stillness lead the way, as we step into the realm of sharp truths that not everyone has the grit to face. Part 1. The paradox of power and solitude. True power is a ruthless filter. We often mistake power for being surrounded by advisors, allies, and smiling faces that applaud every time we speak. But look deeply into the moment the lights go out, when the room is left only with the hum of the air conditioner and your own heartbeat. You will see a stinging truth. Power does not attract loyalty. It only exposes human limits. The higher you climb, the sharper the truth becomes.
The hands that once lifted you up are sometimes the very first to try and pull you down to seize your place.
The Stoic masters saw through this law thousands of years ago. A still mind is closer to true power than any applause or external validation. That power stands firm in silence and chooses solitude as an inevitable test, not to isolate, but to sift out what is no longer compatible on the journey toward autonomy. The greatest paradox of maturity is that as you touch brilliance, your circle automatically shrinks, like a river receding to reveal its hardest rocks. The less noise there is, the more clearly you hear what is real. Observe everyday life. When a person gives up pointless drinking sessions or superficial relationships to return to personal discipline, others often feel offended. They will call it coldness or betrayal, but in reality, they are reacting to the fact that you have grown without their permission.
Those who complain most about your distance are usually those who benefited most from your prior proximity.
They weren't there for your vision or ideals. They were there to warm themselves by your fire. And when you stop burning your energy to please the crowd, they will leave in the cold, leaving you in the void. but also allowing you to breathe at your own pace for the first time. The profound truth is this: power is not the ability to dominate others, but absolute freedom from the need for their recognition. When you can sit alone with your decisions without needing a single word of validation, when you can lose support without falling into a panic, that is when you become invulnerable. The path to that state does not lie in battling the world, but in building a fortress of the mind through mindfulness, day by day, choice by choice.
Part 2. Building the fortress of the mind and boundaries. Once you have accepted the chill of solitary walking at the peak, the next step is not to flee the world, but to build a fortress within your mind. This fortress is not made of boulders or cold steel, but is erected from invisible boundaries, thin as a thread, yet sharp as the blade of proactivity. A boundary is not a wall to isolate you from life. It is a filter to protect your clarity and purpose from the noise that drags you down. Marcus Aurelius once reminded us that true strength is close to a calm mind. But calmness does not fall from the sky. It is paid for with discipline. Setting a strict threshold for your soul, one where not everyone is handed a key to enter. In the ever-changing flow of life, the fortress of the mind is often not destroyed by direct hits, but by invitations cloaked in kindness. In work, it could be a colleague using fake empathy to sow guilt so you take on their burden, calling it teamwork. In family, it could be a relative intervening in your private choices in the name of worry, turning your decision into a session for permission. When the fortress is weak, you will begin to hesitate over things that are rightfully yours to decide. The brutal truth is, if you do not stand guard over your mind, others will step in and take the wheel, while you sit in the back, convincing yourself you are doing the right thing. Therefore, from the perspective of autonomy, a boundary is not an act of aggression. It is your supreme responsibility to yourself. When you establish a boundary, you are declaring that mental energy is a rare currency, and it is only paid for what has real value. Those who complain loudest about you changing are usually the ones who profited most from your previous lack of boundaries. They don't love who you are. They love the convenience you once provided. Because when you are willing to be pulled, they don't need to respect you. When you know how to stand tall, they are forced to face their own limits. The circle, therefore, will continue to refine itself, not by the words you speak, but by the doors you close. Part 3. Turning pain and betrayal into clarity. Betrayal never begins with a stab from an enemy, but often with the warm breath of trust from those who know the entrance to your soul best. Do not rush to ask why, nor waste effort replaying every fragment of dialogue to find your own faults, for the truth is sharper than that. Betrayal is a cycle of human nature, not an unexpected accident. As you advance on the journey of self-mastery, your growth inadvertently becomes a mirror, reflecting the stagnation of others, causing them to choose betrayal as a defense mechanism to feel less inferior. This is when ruthless grace appears. It strips away the final illusions you held for incompatible relationships, leaving you with sharper eyes to see through what is real and what is mere acting. Look at the reality of life. Aren't the most enthusiastic people when you fail sometimes the coldest when you reach glory? They love comforting you because it reinforces their superior position, but they cannot stand it when your light begins to dim their existence. Do not seek fairness or a satisfying explanation, for the betrayer will often justify their actions to turn themselves into the victim of their own story. True clarity sprouts when you realize that betrayal is not the end of your honor, but the end of your blindness toward an unworthy individual. Instead of letting pain gnaw at you, turn it into a fierce internal audit. The lesson here is not to close your heart in extreme suspicion, but
but to train the ability to read behavioral patterns instead of believing in hollow promises. Apply the filter without regret method. When a link is broken and reveals harmful intent, that is the signal to revoke all of the other party's access to your life without needing an explanation. Do not try to win an argument with someone who has chosen betrayal. Win by becoming invulnerable to their presence. Your silence at this moment is not an escape, but the highest form of contempt for those no longer qualified to stand in your circle. Strength does not come from never having been hurt, but from not allowing that pain to define who you are. When you stop consuming energy demanding transparency from the deceiver, you will find your mind reaching a state of stillness and strange coldness. This clarity is the reward for those who dare to face the brutal truth without collapsing. Part 4. Trust and strategic distance. As the pain of betrayal subsides, you will touch a harsher truth. Trust is not something to be handed out for free. It is the rarest currency of human life. We are taught to be open and sincere to connect, but sincerity without discernment is often just a form of self-sabotage, handing the keys of your inner world to those unqualified to hold them. Trust given too early becomes a shackle, and you begin to be led by promises instead of reality. A person of character does not view trust as an obligation. They view it as a long-term investment, dispersed only based on the consistency of actions, not the glamour of words. To protect that asset, you need strategic distance. Consider a painter stepping back a few paces to see the whole canvas. That is not avoidance, it is seeing clearly. In modern life, when you are too available, replying instantly to every message, nodding to every request, you inadvertently make yourself predictable. And predictability, when you are in a position of weight, is a vulnerability. It gives others a map straight to your weaknesses. Strategic distance is the pause between stimulus and response, where you observe not with suspicion, but with a clairvoyance of patterns. The greatest power lies in the lack of need to explain why you keep your distance. When you stop trying to be liked, you begin to be respected, not because you are cold, but because you have become sharp. Part 5. Emotional minimalism. When the external boundaries are set and the fortress of the mind is formed, you enter a leaner state, a discipline I call emotional minimalism. Understand that your attention is your most expensive currency. The mistake of the masses is spending emotion wastefully. They react to every petty look or baseless rumor as if it were a fire alarm. But for one practicing self-mastery, composure is not indifference. It is a calculation of value. You begin to see clearly. Not every fire is worth adding fuel to, and not every debate requires your presence to be meaningful. In real life, look at how you face a toxic colleague or a stranger's insult online. The common reflex is to explain, to strike back, as if you need their permission to be yourself. But that is the moment you lower your altitude to compensate for someone else's instability. Emotional minimalism teaches you to withdraw the sense of urgency from problems that do not belong to you. Strength is not found in how loud you can yell, but in how much provocation you can choose not to react to. The deepest insight here is the freedom from the need to be understood. When you stop burning energy to prove you were right, you will find time expanding and your mind becoming uncannily sharp. Peace does not come from the world ceasing its chaos, but from you ceasing to be a slave to your own impulses. Part 6. The resilience of the silent leader. The true resilience of a silent leader is shaped long before the world starts listening, in the silences that no one sees. We often mistake leadership for a spotlight role, but in reality, it is an internal inner steel forged in hours of solitude. The silent leader does not need to dominate the room. Their power lies in the ability to stand still when the pressure is heavy. In times of crisis, people instinctively look for the calmest eyes, like seeking a lighthouse in the fog.
This is the Stoic law. Before leading anyone else, you must conquer yourself, not through violence, but through discipline. The most valuable perspective lies in the mask of resilience, not to deceive, but to protect the structure of your purpose. When you remain calm amidst chaos, you allow those around you to borrow your composure, a responsibility both noble and lonely. The greatest lesson of the silent leader is to treat both praise and criticism as meaningless noise. They come and go, but principles remain. Your value does not lie in how much you are understood, but in your consistency with your internal compass when no one is on your side. From that silence, a new chapter of freedom opens. You are no longer a victim of circumstance, but the architect of your own reality, quiet, precise, and unshakable. Part 7. The pinnacle of confidence and liberation. This journey does not end with building a fortress or donning a mask of resilience. It leads you to a supreme state, where confidence no longer requires any witness other than your own conscience. This is the liberation from the need to be understood, a freedom that the crowd often mistakes for loneliness. But the truth is, when you no longer live off the warmth of recognition, you become untouchable. The Stoic understands that power does not lie in being seen, but in the ability to look directly at oneself without flinching. Consider a person who dares to abandon easy formulas for success, who says no to being present at every social gathering to follow their inner calling. When they stop chasing fleeting applause, they begin to touch values more enduring than time itself. Real confidence is not built from loud victories. It is forged in hours of sitting still with one's own fears and doubts, without decoration, without escape. And here is the sharpest perspective. Being misunderstood is not always a punishment. Sometimes it is a layer of protection, for it forces you to stop living to explain and start living to be right. To enter this state, practice high reflection. Regularly take a step back, disconnect from all ties, and stand before the mirror of stillness. Ask yourself, am I acting for a true purpose or merely performing for an invisible audience? If the world's silence makes you restless, it means you are still climbing the mountain for the applause at its base, not for the vision at its peak. When you turn stillness into an ally, you will notice something strange. The less you react, the more choices you have. Stoic confidence is the ironclad belief that even if the whole world turns its back, you will not lose yourself. One day, you will stand there at the peak of inner freedom and realize a beautiful paradox. The less you need the world, the more weight your presence carries. Your composure holds an unexplainable gravity, forcing others to reflect on themselves just by being near you. Do not fear the cold at the heights, for that is where the air is purest, where you no longer have to strain to be a likable version of yourself. You have arrived home, where silence is no longer a void, but the fullness of a soul that has mastered itself. And the loudest applause is sometimes the proud silence of a heart that no longer asks for permission to live truly. This journey does not lead you to a bustling crowd. It leads you back to your most authentic self. Never mistake solitude for emptiness, for it is the only space quiet enough for the truth to speak. True power does not lie in how many people follow you, but in your ability to sit still with your decisions, facing the darkest corners of your soul without flinching or seeking escape. If you begin to feel the chill of solitary walking seeping into your skin, understand that it is the purest air a human being can breathe, free from the noise of expectations or superficial applause. Do not panic as the circle around you shrinks. That is the moment the fortress of your mind has completed its ruthless filtration, retaining only what is truly valuable
and consistent with your life's purpose.
Subscribe to Stoic Journey for the part of you that is exhausted from acting, for the soul that is ready to rise and reclaim self-mastery instead of endlessly chasing the illusions of status. Leave your mark in the comments. Share a fragment of your own refining journey and spread this message to those who also crave clarity. Your presence here does not just make this fortress stronger. It is a steel-clad declaration that you choose integrity over popularity
And stillness over meaningless applause. Remember, the fortress you are building is not meant to separate you from life, but to keep you whole in a world trying to tear your attention into 1,000 directions. You do not need the world to understand you. You only need absolute honesty with your inner voice. Do not seek superficial comfort. Seek razor-sharp clarity. Now step out there with a different mindset, quieter, slower, but carrying the weight of a mountain that nothing can move.
Because at the peak of self-mastery, even if you stand alone, you are the sole master of the reality you have always desired. See you in the next steps of our Stoic journey, where we will decode the deeper boundaries of the soul together.